Hello everyone, I'm Z from Susan's family. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a new design, the Feng series, Zeya yoke sweater. For this electronic tutorial, you can find the pattern chart by searching for susud.com on the website. This sweater comes in two sizes. The knitting method is mostly identical, with only slight differences in rounds and stitch counts. The sweater includes the main part, as well as additional crocheted and embroidered decorations. The main part is divided into the collar edge, the shoulder parts, the body, and the sleeves. For this sweater, 2 strands of yarn are held together and treated as one strand throughout. When you take the yarn, you can pull from both the center and the outside of a single ball of yarn. Or you can take one strand from each of 2 separate balls of yarn. It's important to note that everyone's knit tension differs, so the size of the fabric pieces will vary. Before you start knitting, it's a good idea to make a gauge sample and measure your tension. There is a separate video tutorial on how to create the gauge sample. Please refer to the chart for detailed instructions. After measuring, follow the video explanation for further steps. Make adjustments before continuing to knit. After completing the gauge sample, don't cut the yarn. Measure and adjust, then undo the sample. The yarn can be reused. Now let's start learning how to knit the collar edge. Begin with the Italian cast on. After casting on, work back and forth for 2 rows. Then continue knitting in rounds. The stitch techniques used include purl stitch, slip stitch knitwise, SL1 whiff, knit stitch and K1 TBL stitch. For the next part, please watch as I demonstrate the specific knitting method. Start with casting on. Take out the corresponding yarn. Here, I will use a thick cotton yarn for the demonstration. The colors are random. For specific yarn, the color scheme and needle size, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. At the beginning, leave at least 2 meters of yarn. Hold the 2 strands of yarn with your right hand. Insert your thumb and index finger between these 2 strands. The strand connected to the yarn ball should be hooked by your index finger. The long tail end should be hooked by your thumb. Straighten the yarn. Pick up one end of the circular needle with your left hand. Insert it from above into the right side of the yarn. Pick up a loop in a counterclockwise direction. We will count this stitch as 1 knit stitch. Next, start the second purl stitch. First, bring the yarn with your index finger. Wrap the yarn from the front of the needle. Then, bring the yarn with your thumb. Wrap the yarn from the back of the needle. Next, release the yarn from your index finger to the front. You can see the loop on the needle now. There is a strand of yarn lying across the front above the loop. 1 purl stitch is now started. Continue with the 3rd knit stitch. First, bring the yarn with your thumb and wrap it from the back of the needle. Then, bring the yarn with your index finger. Wrap the yarn from the front of the needle. Then release the yarn from your thumb to the back. One knit stitch is now started. Continue with the 4th purl stitch. Bring the yarn with your index finger. Then bring the yarn with your thumb. Release the yarn from your index finger. The purl stitch cast on is now complete. For the 5th stitch, a knit stitch. Bring the yarn with your thumb. Then bring the yarn with your index finger, and release the yarn from your thumb. Continue alternating between purl and knit stitches in this manner. Please refer to the chart for the exact number of stitches. The sample swatch will have fewer stitches. After casting on the corresponding number of stitches, tie a knot with the 2 yarn ends and secure it. If there's a lot of leftover beginning yarn, leave about 15 centimeters and then cut the yarn. Now, the sample swatch cast on is complete. Proceed to work row 1. This row will be worked on the wrong side. Refer to the chart from left to right. The first stitch is a knit slip stitch. The chart shows the texture of the right side of the piece. On the wrong side, work in a method of knitting for the purl stitches and purling for the knit stitches. This means working a SL1 with stitch. Pick up the loop from below purlwise. Then bring the yarn to the bottom of the right needle. This completes the SL1 with stitch. The second stitch is a purl stitch. On the wrong side, needs to work a knit stitch. Here, insert the hook behind a thread and continue knitting. The third stitch continues as a SL1 with stitch. The fourth stitch worked as a knit stitch. For the knit stitches in this row onward, insert the hook behind and continue knitting. Continue to alternate between SL1 with stitches and knit stitches. Finish this row. The last stitch is perfectly a knit stitch. This way, the first row is completed. Continue to work the second row. This row is worked on the right side. Read the chart from right to left. Work the same stitch techniques as shown in the chart on the right side. The first stitch is a SL1 with stitch. The second stitch is a knit stitch. Starting from this row, all following knit stitches are worked normally. Continue to alternate between SL1 with stitches and knit stitches. Finish this row. Now, the second row is completed. Next, work the third round. Starting from this round, you need to work in the round. Since the number of stitches is not sufficient, the circular needle cannot form a circle properly. You can use straight needles to work in the round. First, transfer all the loops roughly evenly onto 3 straight needles. The working yarn should be on the right side. After completing this step, start knitting. From the third round onward, you will be working on the right side. This means you should follow the stitch pattern as shown in the chart. The first stitch is a purl stitch. At the junction, make the first stitch tighter. The second stitch is a K1 TBL stitch. Insert your hook from top to bottom into the loop behind. Yarn over and draw through. That completes one K1 TBL stitch. After completing the stitches, there will be a twisted braid at the bottom. Continue with one purl stitch. Then make one K1 TBL stitch. That is, insert your hook into the loop behind and work the stitch. Completing another K1 TBL stitch. Repeat this process, continuing to alternate between purl stitches and K1 TBL stitches. Once you have finished all the loops on this needle, pay attention. Make sure to knit the first stitch tighter after changing needles. Continue with the same stitch pattern as before. Finish the rest of this round. Now, we have completed the third round. Continue knitting the remaining rounds. The method for each remaining round of the collar edge is identical, alternating between one purl stitch and one K1 TBL stitch. You can also follow the texture while knitting. Noticing the horizontal lines below, work a purl stitch when you see a horizontal line below. When you see a twisted braid below, knit a K1 TBL stitch. Follow this method to complete the corresponding rounds. Note that some rounds are omitted in the sample swatch. When counting rounds, start from the bottom twisted braid. Each braid represents one round. Add 2 to the number of braids to get the total number of rounds. There are 6 braids in this sample, which means the 8th round has been completed. After finishing all rounds, transfer these loops to one of the circular needles. Start transferring from the first stitch. Then leave a yarn tail of about 15 centimeters and cut the yarn. Be mindful to prevent the loops from slipping off. This way, the collar edge is completed. Let's continue learning the shoulder parts knitting method. Start with the chained cast on for the shoulder parts. After completing the starting chain, knit in rounds. During the knitting process, apart from these petals, stems and the leaves here, the rest of the decorations are knitted simultaneously as you work. The new stitch technique used with the straight needle is M1L increase. Additionally, crochet stitch methods are also used. All of these are marked in the pattern chart. I won't list them one by one. Next, please watch me demonstrate. Start with the chained cast on. Take out the corresponding yarn. I will continue to demonstrate using a thick cotton yarn. The colors are random. The chained cast on method is similar to provisional cast on method, but you don't need to remove it later. Therefore, you can directly start with the corresponding yarn. Here, you can use another circular needle to start. Leave about 15 centimeters of yarn tail at the beginning. The loop should not be too loose. Pay attention. When there is just one stitch left, we will treat this loop on the right needle as the last stitch, and place it on the left needle. This way, the casting on is complete. Now, start knitting the first round. With fewer stitches, use knitting needles to knit as well. Transfer the loops onto 3 knitting needles. Here, I have already completed the transfer. The first 5 rounds are all knit one by one accordingly. Following this method, finish knitting the first 5 rounds. Now, the sample has completed the first 5 rounds. When counting rounds, you can start from the bottom braid and count upwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. The loops on the needle are the 5th round. If you're not sure, being off by 1 or 2 rounds is fine. This way, that concludes the first 5 rounds. Continue with the 6th round. In this round, you need to knit the collar edge at the same time. First, make sure the right side of the collar edge faces out. Place it on the inside of the shoulder part piece. Both pieces should have their starting stitches facing down. Align the first stitch positions roughly. Next, insert into the first stitch of both pieces simultaneously. Work 1 knit stitch. Continue to insert into the loops of both pieces simultaneously. Knit stitch each one correspondingly. Finish this round. Now, the sample has completed the 6th round. You can see that the 2 pieces have been merged together. Continue to finish the 7th round. Work even with knit stitches in this round. Now, the 7th round is completed. Continue to the 8th round. This round requires increasing stitches. Refer to the chart. Start with the corresponding number of knit stitches. The stitch count in the sample is not for reference. After completing this, knit 1 M1L increase stitch. The stitch key is the same as the K1 TBL stitch, but the technique is different. The M1L increase stitch is made by working 1 stitch into the horizontal strand between 2 stitches. Pick up this strand and place it on the left needle. Then insert your hook from behind into the loop and work one stitch. This completes the M1L increase stitch. In other words, you have increased one stitch. Continue to work the same number of stitches each time. Then work one M1L increase stitch after them. Finish this round in this manner. Don't forget to increase stitches at the end here. Once completed, work the 9th round with knit stitches evenly. This way, we have covered the first 9 rounds. Now, I have finished the 9th round. Next, continue working until you finish the first 19 rounds. Some rounds require increasing stitches. The method of increasing stitches is identical to that in the 8th round. The number of stitches and the increase placement will differ. Refer to the chart for specifics. Pay attention. When the stitch count increases, you can switch to a shorter circular needle. When the stitch count is even higher, switch to a longer circular needle. When changing circular needles, if you can't identify the starting position, you can always place a stitch marker between the first and last stitch to separate them. After completing the first 19 rounds, I will use a sample to demonstrate round 20. The sample has fewer stitches, so we'll continue using knitting needles. Refer to the chart. The first stitch is a hollow star symbol. This indicates that you need to crochet the corresponding pattern. Before crocheting, you can mark 3 points. Locate the 3rd stitch from the end. Mark the loop of this stitch. Then mark the loop of the 4th stitch. Finally, mark the 1st stitch, which is the middle of 4th braid, below the middle one of these 7 stitches. Mark it. If you can't find the exact position, an approximate location is fine. After marking these 3 points, since the yarn used for crocheting the pattern is not easy to undo, let's watch my demonstration first. Learn the method before you start crocheting. Take out the corresponding yarn. Again, we will be using 2 strands together. Here, I will continue to demonstrate with a single strand of cotton yarn. Make a slip knit with the yarn. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Take the crochet hook and start crocheting. Draw a loop from the position marked on the right side. Then make 3 chain stitches. Weave in the yarn tail as you crochet. Trim off any excess yarn tails. Next, at a point roughly in the middle between these 2 points, pick up one strand of yarn, and make an incomplete treble crochet. When crocheting, it might be a bit inconvenient, so go slightly slower. Yarn over twice. Pick up one strand of yarn. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over sequentially. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. Repeat this 2 times. To complete the incomplete treble crochet, continue at the lowest point here, and make another incomplete treble crochet. Once completed, at a point roughly in the middle between these 2 points, and at this marked point, make one incomplete treble crochet at each of these points. After completing them, yarn over, and draw the yarn through all loops at once. Then make one more chain stitch. Place this loop on the left needle. Pay attention, keep the yarn for the crochet pattern at the back. Then insert through these 2 loops simultaneously. Knit 1 stitch. Tighten it slightly. This way, the first hollow star pattern is completed. Refer to the chart, then make a M1L increase stitch right after. Slightly tighten the yarn for the pattern. And then knit the corresponding number of stitches. While knitting, bring this yarn through as you go. Continue until you reach the position with 3 stitches remaining. Pay attention. Don't pull the carried yarn too tight. Keep the tension moderate. When there are 3 stitches left, bring this yarn to the right side. Continue to knit the remaining 3 stitches as knit stitches. After completing, start crocheting the second pattern. The method is identical to the first pattern. The marking point on the right side should be located on the braid below this stitch. The other 2 points are the same as before. After marking, start crocheting the second pattern. Hook the yarn out at the marked points. Make 3 chain stitches. Then, below the middle of these 2 points, at the marked point. At the middle of these 2 points and this marked point position, crochet 1 incomplete treble crochet at each point. After completing them, yarn over, and pull the yarn through all loops at once. Then make 1 chain stitch. Place it on the left needle. And combine these 2 loops to knit 1 stitch. The second pattern is now done. For the rest of this round, after each pattern is completed, start with 1M1L increase stitch. Then knit the corresponding number of stitches. While working, bring the yarn for the pattern along. Continue until there are 3 stitches remaining. When you reach the corresponding position, bring the yarn to the front. Continue knitting 3 stitches. Then crochet the pattern as usual. For the following patterns, the positions of the 3 marked points will be identical to those of the second pattern. After you're familiar with the positions, you can also work without markers and crochet directly. The specific positions of these patterns going forward can also be adjusted according to your preference. Following this pattern, complete this round. After completing the last pattern, bring the yarn a short distance and cut it directly. This way, that concludes the 20th round. Continue with the 21st round. Work even in knit stitches for this round. The sample swatch is now complete. After finishing, proceed to the 22nd round. This round requires a color change. Take out the corresponding color of yarn. Tie a knot with the original yarn to join the new yarn. Refer to the chart. The first stitch is represented by the ring symbol, indicating that you need to crochet a different pattern. First, transfer the first loop to the right needle. Then, locate the center of the pattern below. Insert the hook into this center. Also insert it through to the wrong side of the fabric. Draw the new yarn through. Ensure the tension on the wrong side is just right. Slightly enlarge the loop. Leave the original yarn here. Then work 1 incomplete half double crochet. Yarn over once. Insert the hook in the same insertion position. Draw the yarn through. Enlarge the loop. Pull it to approximately the same height as the right side. 1 incomplete half double crochet is done. Follow the same method. Continue in the same position. Work 2 more incomplete half double crochets. Each time pulling to approximately the same height as the right side. After completing them, yarn over. Pull through all loops at once. Then place the loop on the left needle. And bring the first stitch loop back to the left needle. Combine these 2 loops together. Knit 1 stitch. Pay attention. Continue using the yarn from the crochet pattern for knitting. This way, the first ring pattern is completed. Next, knit stitch by stitch accordingly. Pay attention. Knit the following stitch a bit tighter. Continue knitting until the corresponding number of knit stitches is completed. After completing it, we are back at the position for the ring pattern. I will demonstrate the ring pattern again. First, transfer this loop on the left side to the right needle. Then use the crochet hook to start crocheting. Insert into the center hole of the pattern below. Going through to the wrong side of the fabric. And pull the yarn through. Slightly enlarge the loop. Then work 3 incomplete half double crochets. After completing it, yarn over. And pull through all loops at once. Place it on the left needle. Then transfer this loop to the left needle. Combine these 2 loops and work 1 knit stitch. Another ring pattern is done. for the rest of this round. Each time you complete a pattern like this, work the corresponding number of knit stitches. Pay attention, the next stitch should be worked slightly tighter. Follow this method to complete the rest of this round. After finishing, leave about 10 centimeters of yarn tail and cut the yarn. Then tie a knot with the beginning yarn tail and secure it. This way, round 22 is completed. Continue to follow the chart to finish rounds 23 to 35. The sample swatch is already completed. When counting rounds, avoid the positions where stitches were increased. The first braid after changing colors marks round 23. The loops on the needle also count as one round. After finishing, I will continue to demonstrate round 36. Start by knitting the corresponding number of knit stitches. I have already completed it. After completing, we've reached the position for the pattern with 3 consecutive solid stars. Here, you need to crochet the corresponding pattern. Before crocheting, mark a few points as usual. First, on the right side of the braid below the third loop from the right on the right needle. Mark a point. Then, mark a point in the middle of the 5th braid, which below the adjacent stitch on the left. Continue and mark a point. Below the second loop on the left needle. In the middle of the 5th braid, mark a point. After completing this, below the 5th stitch, in the middle of the 4th braid, and on the loop of the 6th stitch, mark a point respectively. That is, mark a total of 5 points. After marking, crochet using the same yarn as the hollow star pattern. First, join the yarn at the first point. Pay attention to prevent the loops from slipping off. Make 3 chain stitches. Then, in the adjacent point on the left, make 1 incomplete treble crochet. After completing this, yarn over, pull through all loops at once. Then make 1 chain stitch. Next, within this area, select approximately 2 points evenly. Make 1 incomplete treble crochet at each of the 2 points. the first stitch can be slightly higher. Then, make one incomplete treble crochet at this point. Next, within this area, and on the other side, roughly symmetrical, select 2 points as well. Make one incomplete treble crochet at each of these points. Similarly, this one can also be slightly higher. After completing that, yarn over, and pull the yarn through all loops at once. Then make one chain stitch. Next, at these 2 points, make one incomplete treble crochet at each point. Then yarn over, and pull the yarn through all loops at once again, and make one chain stitch. After completing that, temporarily secure this loop with a stitch marker. Place it at the front. Then, take the first loop on the left needle, and pull it through between these 2 stitches. And return it to the left needle. Then knit 1 stitch. Continue to knit 1 stitch normally. Then, pull the loop on the left needle through between these 2 stitches. Then, move the loop secured by the stitch marker to the wrong side. Return this loop to the left needle. And bring the loop from the stitch marker onto the left needle as well. Then knit 1 stitch with these 2 loops held together. This way, the solid star pattern is completed. For the rest of this round, after each complete pattern, Continue to knit the corresponding number of stitches. The yarn for the pattern can also be carried along to the next place as you knit. Note: similar to the first pattern situation. Here too, carry the yarn until there are 3 stitches remaining. When you reach the corresponding position, bring the yarn to the right side, then knit the remaining 3 stitches. After completing this, following the explanation for the first pattern, mark 5 points first. Then start crocheting. After completing these 2 points, select 2 points on each side of this point. And continue crocheting. After completing this, at the remaining 2 points, continue crocheting. After completing this, temporarily secure the loop. Then use the original yarn to make the first stitch, ensuring it presses down here. Normally knit the next stitch. For the following stitch, also press down on the pattern, while merging it with this loop as you knit. This way, another pattern is completed. Next, everyone can refer to the previous demonstration. Continue to complete this round. The sample will not include this pattern after this. After everyone finishes the last pattern, hide the yarn for a bit and then cut it. This way, round 36 is completed. Continue knitting rounds 37 to 42. The sample swatch is now finished. Once done, I will demonstrate round 43. First, join the yarn and knit the corresponding number of knit stitches. The sample swatch is already completed. Next is the dot symbol, which indicates crocheting the fourth pattern. First, mark underneath the third loop on the right needle, on the fourth braid. Then mark in the middle of the sixth braid, underneath the first loop on the left needle. Finally, mark on the third braid, underneath the fourth loop. After marking, pick up one strand from this point and draw the yarn through. Keeping the carried yarn with moderate tension. Then make 3 chain stitches. And work 1 incomplete treble crochet in the same position. Next, at these 2 points, work 2 incomplete treble crochets at each point. Once completed, yarn over, pull the yarn through all loops at once. Then transfer one loop from the left needle to the right needle. Next, transfer the loops of the pattern and this loop sequentially back to the left needle. Then knit these two loops together. This way, the pattern corresponding to one dot is completed. For the rest of this round, after completing each dot pattern, knit the corresponding number of knit stitches. Pay attention. The next stitch should be knit slightly tighter. Refer to the diagram and follow this demonstration. Continue to finish this round. After completing round 43, switch colors and continue with rounds 44 to 53. Once finished, proceed to round 54. This round requires knitting the hollow star pattern. That is, it should be the same pattern as round 20. Here, I have already completed one pattern. Since the distance between adjacent patterns is relatively long, we can work without carrying the yarn, and leave about 5 centimeters before cutting. Later, hide all the yarn tails on the wrong side uniformly. Each time you crochet this pattern in the future, simply pick up the new yarn and start crocheting. Refer to the explanation for round 20. Finish this round. This way, we have covered round 54. After completing round 54, continue with round 55. Start by crocheting the corresponding number of knit stitches. The sample swatch is already completed. Once done, at the position where the right angle is in the top left of the triangle, you will need to crochet a new pattern. First, mark 2 points. Mark the braid below the third loop from the right on the right side. Then, below the last loop on the right, mark the middle of the fifth braid. After completing this, use the same yarn to crochet. Start by joining the yarn at the point on the right, and make 3 chain stitches. Then, in the approximate middle of this section, and at this point, make 1 incomplete treble crochet at each marked point. Then yarn over, pull through all loops at once. Make another chain stitch. place the loop on the left needle. Combine it with the loop on the left side to knit. This way, a complete pattern is finished. Similarly, you can fasten off the yarn here normally. After working each corresponding number of knit stitches, crochet this pattern once. Each time, pick up the new yarn to crochet. Repeat this process to complete this round. After completing round 55, I will continue explaining round 56. Similarly, start with the initial knit stitches. Then comes the triangle symbol with a right angle at the top, right? Which requires crocheting a pattern roughly symmetrical to the previous round. First, mark 2 points. One below the second loop on the left needle. Mark the middle of the fourth braid. Then mark below the fourth loop as well. Next, join the yarn at the position of the first point and crochet. Make 3 chain stitches. Choose one of these points and this specific point, and crochet 1 incomplete treble crochet into each. Then yarn over, pull the yarn through all loops at once, then make 1 chain stitch. This uses the same crochet method as here, just with a different insertion point. After completing it, place the loop on the left needle and combine it with this loop to work 1 knit stitch. Refer to the previous demonstration. After completing a full pattern, repeat. Fasten off the yarn normally. For the rest of this round, after knitting the corresponding number of knit stitches, make one of these patterns. Follow this method to complete this round. After completing it, continue to refer to the chart to finish the remaining rounds of the shoulder parts. Pay attention, there is one round in between that requires changing colors for knitting. Additionally, the final total stitch count and total rounds for the shoulder parts vary slightly between different sizes. Refer to the chart instructions for specifics. The sample swatch has omitted some rounds for the shoulder parts. After finishing the last round, you need to continue knitting 3 more stitches to the left. Adjust the position of the first stitch for the body. In other words, treat this stitch as the first stitch of the body. This way, we have completed the shoulder part section.